Hello, everybody. I previously made a video entitled Sovereign Citizen Doesn't Work. This Will Jurisdiction. And I got a lot of comments and there was a lot of confusion, I think, about what I meant. So this is sort of an ad hoc live video that I'm going to make to clear up the misconception that arose from my last video, where I compared the sovereign citizen defense to the defense of jurisdiction. The truth of the matter is that they are both bad choices. One will never work. The other one will work sometimes. So that prior video, sovereign citizen doesn't work. This will jurisdiction. The purpose behind, well, let me say this. The sovereign citizen argument is never going to work. I did a previous video on this, okay? It's a nice concept in theory, and I actually sympathize with some of the individuals that bring this up, but it is never going to work. So what I wanted to do in the last video is provide you with a legal argument that is similar to the sovereign citizen argument, but it sometimes will work. I did not mean to create misconceptions or confuse people. The defense of jurisdiction doesn't work in most cases. It doesn't work in many cases. It does work in a small percentage of cases. And it is an analysis that should be done in every single case. There was recently a case in Pennsylvania where DUI checkpoints that involved officers from two different municipalities, okay, an individual was stopped, their blood was taken. The exact circumstances were sort of like this. Okay, the individual there was a checkpoint set up. The individual was stopped by police from municipality A, and then their blood was taken from municipality B. Okay, in Pennsylvania, an attorney challenged that taking of the blood by those two municipalities working together and beat it under the exact act that I referenced in my prior video, the Municipal Police Jurisdiction Act. Okay, the officers from those two jurisdictions needed a written agreement in order for for them to work together on a checkpoint like that. Boom, it was invalidated based on jurisdiction. That defendant won her case. Okay, and hundreds, if not thousands of other defendants will win their cases based on that theory. Now, it is true that the police, the legislature, okay, and the politicians will react to this and likely cure that issue. But you're talking hundreds, maybe thousands of defendants able to beat their case, okay, based on that, the Municipal Police Jurisdiction Act, based on a jurisdictional argument, all right? So, the reason I compared sovereign citizen and jurisdiction is because they are similar arguments. I wasn't saying that jurisdiction will work every time, okay? But a sovereign citizen argument acts on the theory that the government does not have a rightful authority over you as an individual. It will never work. And I explained that in the other video. A jurisdiction argument acts on the same theory that the police in a certain municipality, or if they don't follow certain rules, will not have authority over you. You can beat a case on this theory. It is not common. However, there are dozens of cases out there under which individuals have won. Now, how does this happen? It happens when the police don't do their job. The important thing here to recognize is that if you're a defendant in a case and you don't know that the police didn't do their job correctly, you may still lose that case, no matter how much sovereign citizen language and theory that comes out of your mouth. Okay, you may have a jurisdictional argument and not even know it. All right. So that last video was giving you a theory similar to the sovereign citizen theory that sometimes does work. I wasn't trying to give you a silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. But I was letting you know that there is law out there similar to the sovereign citizen theory that can, has, and will work under certain circumstances. So I'm going to go through because it seemed like, everybody said, oh, well, that I'm arguing on the side of the police or I'm not giving examples. Okay. The key principle here is that and this is the job of an attorney. This is how you put a defense together, is you checkpoint the police. You checkpoint the district attorney. Did they follow procedure precisely? If they follow procedure precisely, you're right. You're right. You may not win on this argument. You will likely not win on this argument. You may have other arguments, which I'll get into in future videos, but you won't win on this argument. But this needs to be an analysis in pretty much every case. Now, as an attorney, can I pick up a police report, okay, and tell right away if there's anything there with jurisdiction? Yeah, usually I can. Okay, and I won't even bring it up to my client, but it's in the back of my head. All right, usually I can read the police report. I can talk to my client. I can know, you're right. The majority of police work is not going to violate the jurisdictional act. Absolutely, that is true. Okay, but as a defense attorney, okay, it's my job and it's your job if you're a defendant in a case that to follow every detail and know every defense possible. Defense attorneys have to be creative. That's how we win, and that's how the law is changed. Okay, and just like that case that I just referenced, all right, and I'll put it in the comments, okay, because I don't remember the name of the case right now. Hundreds, if not thousands of people are going to beat their DUIs in Pennsylvania based on a jurisdictional argument. Now, there's tens of thousands of people who are not. And the majority of the time, the police are acting within their jurisdiction. Occasionally, they are not. Occasionally, they don't follow procedure. I'll run you through the Municipal Police Jurisdiction Act right here. Acting pursuant to a court order or the rules of criminal procedure. Okay, if the police are acting pursuant to a court order, and they're in jurisdiction A, all right, they can go into jurisdiction B and effectuate an arrest or enforce the law. However, if they're executing an arrest or a search warrant, they need the consent of the police chief in the opposite jurisdiction, okay, in order to do it legally. Now, 9 out of 10 times, the officers in jurisdiction A, if they execute an arrest or a search warrant, all right, they're going to get the consent to make that search or arrest in jurisdiction B, if that's where it needs to be done. 9 out of 10 times. But I'm telling you, okay, the police don't always do their job. And that can be based on hundreds of different reasons. Okay. That's why defense attorneys exist. That's my job, is to see if the police did their job. Okay. Now, it may feel hopeless, but let me tell you, it's not. I've won hopeless cases. Not exactly on this theory, but other attorneys have won on this theory. A case was just won in Pennsylvania. That's why I made this video. That's why this popped into my mind. Okay, because there was a case that invalidated DUI checkpoints between two cooperating municipalities in the event that they lacked a written agreement, okay, or a formal agreement to work together. Hundreds, thousands of cases, okay, may be defeated based on that theory. That's an attorney who got creative, all right, and won for his client. All right, so back to the point, acting pursuant to a court order. There are going to be instances where the police are executing an arrest or search warrant in a neighboring jurisdiction and they did not get proper consent. It's going to happen. Okay. And likely that attorney will beat that case before it ever goes to trial or it ever goes to the superior court. It's not going to be in the newspaper. Okay. So if you get on Google and you research it, you're not going to see it. There's cases, hundreds, dozens of cases beat every day. Only the lawyer, the client, the district attorney, the police officer, and the judge know how that case was won. You're only going to get case law on something if it goes to trial and is appealed. And then it might be in the paper. Okay. If it goes to trial, then it might be in the paper. Or if it's high profile, it'll be in the paper and you can go ahead and research it. I beat cases based on suppression arguments and when the odds likely looked insurmountable, it never made the newspaper. Okay. So there are going to be instances where the police have a warrant for search or arrest in another jurisdiction. They don't get consent of the police chief. A good defense attorney is going to read the report, get the search warrant, call the DA and say, I'm going to knock this out. You know what happens? If the DA agrees, and they will if it's plain, okay, you go ahead, you file the motion. They say, I'm going to withdraw the case. I'm going to give your client a disorderly conduct. Will he take it? And then we won't have to have a hearing on the motion. Yeah, he'll take it instead of facing, probation and a felony or a misdemeanor on his record. Who knows? Might be facing. Yeah, he'll take it. Boom, that goes away. You're not going to research that. You can't go on a docket. You could search every docket in Pennsylvania, and you aren't going to be able to put the full story of that case together without getting every single filing. And frankly, even then, that's not going to give you the full story. Okay, I beat cases, settled cases with phone calls. You have the general public will have no idea why. Okay, the cases cases are dealt with on a case by case basis. That's where it comes from. Okay, so there's no interest from the court. The courts exist to settle disputes and enforce the law, not to publish or make public everything that happens. It is public, but that's not part of the goal. So acting pursuant to a court order, rules of criminal procedure, there are going to be instances where the police in jurisdiction A are executing an arrest or search warrant in jurisdiction B without the proper consent. You might have a newbie cop who doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, you may have cops who rush through it or miscommunications. It's going to happen. You can beat your case on this. Okay, it's analysis that needs to be done. Hot pursuit. Number 2, hot pursuit. Police in jurisdiction A can follow a defendant into jurisdiction B, okay, if they're in hot pursuit. There's important nuances in here as to what exactly is a hot pursuit. Did that officer actually witness a crime? Perhaps they followed the wrong car. Okay, there's 100 different scenarios. There's tons of different scenarios that could arise. Okay, one of the things is the police may engage in hot pursuit when they didn't have probable cause or reasonable suspicion to do so. Okay, and maybe there's a theory out there. It's a de minimis traffic violation. Okay, I believe there was a case where a car swerved a little bit, crossed over into the other side of the road and then the right side of the road, and then the officer pursued a stop. The court said that's not reasonable suspicion. Now, let's say there's an officer now unschooled on that law, which many of them are not unschooled. I don't think, many police officers have a very, very good understanding of the law. But I think most of you would agree with me that there are many out there who do not, or they're new. Okay, so there's an officer, sees a little bit of swerving, crossover in a line, starts to follow this car. The car drives into the other jurisdiction. Okay, he pursues. Okay, puts his lights on, pulls him over, finds guns and drugs in the trunk, guns and drugs in the back seat or hidden under the passenger seat. All right, you could win that on a jurisdictional argument. You may be able to beat that on probable cause or reasonable suspicion alone. Okay, but jurisdiction on top of that, you take that into court. Okay, that's a double whammy. All right, that's not a hot pursuit. Hot pursuit, it has a specific definition. Even running a stop sign, certain minor traffic offenses, the police can't pursue you and put you in and try to detain your vehicle for it. All right. So if they begin to hot pursue you for something that is not warranting of a stop, and then they take you into another jurisdiction, and an interesting thing could arise is, let's say probable cause does arise after they get into the other jurisdiction. Whereas let's say the car, grazes another moving car. Well, that's reason to pull someone over. All right. But they weren't in hot pursuit when they crossed the jurisdictional line. All right. What I'm doing here is I'm not teaching you a trick like sovereign citizen. Okay. I am teaching you facts. I'm teaching you the law that you can look at and look into, all right, and then use to beat your case. All right, beat your case. And this is just one. There could be 100 different ways to beat a case. Mistaken identity, an alibi, a violation of search and seizure. Okay, there are many out there. Requests for aid, other law enforcement, local, state, federal, or park police. That recent case that I was citing where the DUI checkpoint was defeated, the district attorney argued this was a request for aid. The court said that this was not a request for aid because this was a pre-planned cooperative agreement. Okay, or I'm sorry, it was basically a pre-planned cooperative. All right. And they didn't have I believe it was the written agreement that was necessary. Okay, but the request for aid didn't arise here. So the request for aid has to be done in a specific legally sufficient form. If the police don't do that, you can beat the case. Consent from the police chief to deal with matters in the other jurisdiction, but which arose within his own jurisdiction. Again, a rookie officer may not know where his jurisdiction ends. May not know where his or her jurisdiction ends. They go into another jurisdiction. They conduct an investigation, effectuate an arrest. They file a police complaint. It ends up on my desk. I say, okay, this is Town A police, but they made the arrest in Town B. Okay, well, what led them in there? Oh, he got some information from an informant that, okay, and he went into Town B, but he never got the consent of the police chief. Right there, you could win. You could win. So I'm not giving you words or language to use, okay, in order to defend your case. What I'm giving you is after the fact. This is analysis that needs to be done. However, if you keep these things in the back of your mind as a concerned citizen, or perhaps someone who's been in trouble before, okay, maybe it can help you stay out of trouble in the first place. All right. Where an officer views an offense, again, the officer must be on official business. Where an officer views an offense, they can go into a separate jurisdiction and effectuate an arrest or enforce the laws. Okay. That officer, though, in order to do that, must be on official business, must make a reasonable attempt to identify himself as a police officer, and it must be a breach of the peace which presents a clear and present danger. There's so much there. There's so much good stuff there. What if the officer doesn't identify himself? You could beat it on that alone. Okay. What if he's not actually on official business? What if he's there as a leisure activity? Okay, then he needs to call the police. What if it's not a breach of peace, which presents a clear and present danger, like a minor traffic stop or loitering or something of that nature? I mean, people have been stopped for loitering and they found pounds of drugs on them. All right. So if that's plenty of good stuff there, okay, where you may be able to beat a case. Finally, views a felony. Again, the officer must make a reasonable attempt to identify himself. So many cases have been won on jurisdictional theories. Okay, I could pull up Westlaw and run you through cases. I mean, if you're interested in seeing that, I'd love to do that. I would love to do that. But It's not. This isn't a magic pill. Uh, we want to know what the magic pill is to hire a really good attorney who's going to research your case. Okay, because jurisdiction will be one part of the analysis. All right. You want me to give you advice as far as sovereign citizen is concerned. I'm going to do a video series on this. Okay. It's as simple as this. Don't consent to anything with the police. Don't talk to the police any more than you have to. Okay. This requires some tact, because I wouldn't tell people not to talk to the police. Okay. I wouldn't tell people not to answer some basic questions with the police, but I would tell people to not give up more information than they have to. And after a certain preliminary introductory language, okay, it's fine to tell the police, I'm not going to answer any more questions. I would like to speak to my attorney before I decide to talk to you, and you officers can conduct whatever investigation, detention, or arrest that you now deem necessary at this time. Okay, but you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. That's the real sovereign citizen argument right there, is to assert your rights. Your right to stay silent. You have an absolute right to not self-incriminate yourself. That's the real sovereign citizen argument right there. And don't consent to a search. I watch those videos and these guys, they don't consent. Here's the thing: if you're not going to talk to the police, all right, that's fine. And if you're not going to consent to anything, that's fine. But they can arrest you. Okay, they can arrest you if they have probable cause or reasonable suspicion. They can arrest you. All right, they can take your car to the pound and they can put you in jail for a night. Here's what I'm telling my clients: you take that hit. You don't fight with them. You do not fight with them. You do not argue with them. You respect their commands. If you got to go to jail for a night, you go to jail for a night. Okay, you be calm, cool, and respectful, and you go to jail and you hire a lawyer as soon as you can. Okay. If they violated your own civil rights in another way, okay, then you find a civil rights lawyer who's going to sue them. Okay. Your respect, restraint, okay, is always number one. And you sue the police later. You fight your case later. You stay silent and you don't give consent. That's the true sovereign citizen argument. And that's how more cases are won, even than on the jurisdiction argument. Now, there's many other theories. There's many other ways to beat a case out there. I'm going to get into the Fourth Amendment search and seizure, okay, because I've beaten cases on Fourth Amendment grounds, okay? And there are many, many ways out there to beat them. I could make videos for weeks, months, years on cases that have been beat on that theory. And that's what I'm going to do, because I think that's what you guys want. Listen, thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. I may have taken a little bit of a heightened tone here. And it's just because I'm an attorney and I like to argue and I get excited about it. And especially when I'm challenged, I like to bring it back. But what I'd like to tell you guys is I truly appreciate your feedback, your criticism. It's going to make my channel better. It's going to help me bring you content that you want. So keep bringing it, okay? And I'll keep bringing it. Thank you for tuning in.